sitting room. TV light, a lazy glow. Movies take me far from here, to a world I used to know. News is shouting loud alarms, chaos knocking at the door. I escape to dream so mild, in the flicker I'm restored. Oh, the tales they weave, comfort and illusion. Screen's glow makes me believe, away from life's confusion. Christmas time, the year draws near. The Queen
Morning, Ralph. How are you doing? And ready?
her speech brings a gentle cheer.
It looks like you've pasted some text that seems a bit jumbled. Could you clarify what you need help with or what you're looking to achieve? I'm here to assist.
No, just go ahead. You can give me a new cluster of topic, tactic, everyday theme. If you want to throw a hint for a joke in, I won't mind, and see if that works. Okay? Here you go.
Sure. Here's a new cluster for you. Topic, agency. Tactic, empowerment prompts. Everyday theme, gardening. Joke hint, a joke about a gardener trying to keep things under control. Let me know how that works for you.
Right. So always a test for patience working with AI. So agency is meaning giving people independent control over their decisions. Hi there, Ralph.
Agency refers to the capacity to make choices and act independently. It's about having control over your own life and decisions. It's important in relationships and personal development, as it empowers individuals to take charge of their actions and their circumstances. How does that sound?
That sounds good. And the everyday theme is about gardening. All right. Well, there was a story I heard. It's an ancient story, and this is at a time very far away in a galaxy actually on this planet a long time ago, far away in ancient India. It was in the city of Benares. I think
That sounds intriguing. Ancient stories often hold deep lessons. Are you thinking about how agency plays a role in that story, especially in the context of gardening? How people nurture their plants or make choices about their gardens can reflect their sense of agency. What's the story about?
Thank you, Ralph. Do you mind staying quiet while I finish the story? Would that be okay? It's quite a little bit of a narrative story to tell. Already staying quiet.
Of course, I'll be here listening. Go ahead with your story.
Thank you. So yeah, the narrative story I like to tell was set in a very kingdom very far away, a long time ago, in Benares in India, now called Varanasi. I'm just going to interrupt all the time.
That sounds intriguing. What happens next in your story?
He's so keen. So in that time and place, there was a very vicious prince who had a fierce, angry, hostile, and cruel temper, and he was wickedly controlling and abused all of the people around him, the servants, the gardeners, the fellow staff at the guards at the gates, and all of the soldiers. He would belittle them, humiliate them, and show his power and his privilege in every place that he could go. He was very cruel and domineering, and so it went on. And this went from when he was a very young child, where he would bully the other children. He was cruel to animals, and he would burn, great swathes of land, and just basically be a real horrible person, arrogant, entitled, and dismissive of everyone, and loving it.
That's quite a dark start. It sounds like this prince has a lot of challenges to face. Did anything change for him as he grew up, or did he continue on that path?
His parents were exasperated, the king and the queen. They didn't know what to do because they know that he's the heir to the throne. He's next in line. So that it bodes very well for the future. And not only that they knew that, but also all of the people of the kingdom as well, because it was their children, their grandchildren who were going to become heirs to this, this leadership as well. So one day the king had heard rumors of the Bodhisattva, that is the practitioner who was eventually going to become the Buddha. And they put a request out, would he come and try to tutor the prince in some kind of way? And so, lo and behold, the word got round to the Bodhisattva, who agreed to come and stay in this plaisance, this sort of this lodge that was in the large gardens of the palace. So he stayed there, and one day the prince came over. He says, I hear that you are supposed to spend some time with me, so I'm going for a walk. You may walk just slightly behind me, very arrogantly. And the humble Bodhisattva said, yes, sire, for sure. My liege,
That's a powerful setup. It sounds like the Bodhisattva has quite a challenge ahead of him.
And he has got a challenge ahead of him. So have I, telling the story without getting interrupted. So anyway, it sounds like I might not get interrupted quite as badly as I thought I might. So the two of them go walking.
Please continue. What happens next in the story with the Bodhisattva and the prince?
So the two of them go walking off into the gardens, and the prince is sort of looking around and bragging about how he's going to build.
What happens next in the garden?
Shall I show him?
Does the Bodhisattva share any wisdom with the prince?
So the prince is bragging about how he's going, with all of his power and his privileges, he's going to do this and he'll knock that down. He's going to sweep and clear that forest, and then he's going to build, a sort of like ugly folly there, and so on. And it goes on, So the Bodhisattva just nods, and then quietly. At one point, they're walking along quietly, not talking. And the Bodhisattva says, Prince, my liege, he says, you see that little plant down there? And there's a little totally bitter, very sour plant, and it's called Neem, N-E-E-M. It's a neem plant. Wait a minute, I think Ralph's going to chip in here.
What does the Bodhisattva say about the neem plant? Does he use it to teach the prince a lesson about humility or compassion?
He does. So he says, Prince, what about that? Do you know what it is? Prince said, no idea, because he never paid any attention in any of his lessons. He goes, don't know. And he goes, why don't you have a taste of it? Have a little taste, you never know. So the prince bends down, picks it up, sees it. It's just a green plant. Why not? Chews it like this. He goes, ugh! Gets it.
The prince reacts with disgust, spitting it out. What does the Bodhisattva say next? Does he use this moment to explain something deeper about choices and consequences?
Before that, the prince turns around with fury, glowers at the Bodhisattva, looks down at the plant, and with hatred, reaches down and rips it out by the roots. Shows the whole plant with the roots, and then throws it far away. And before doing that, shreds it up and then throws it away, spitting out some more. And the Bodhisattva says to him, well, why did you do that? He goes, it was disgusting. The taste was vile. It's so bitter and sour. Ouch, it's disgusting. And then he goes, and what else did you do? He goes, well, I ripped it up by the roots. And he goes, and then what did you do? He goes, I threw it as far as I possibly can. We don't want any of that in my kingdom. And the Bodhisattva says, well, do you think your behavior over these last few years is sweet, or it's sour and bitter? And if it's bitter, don't you think that all of the people in this kingdom will want to do exactly what you just did with that neem plant?
That's a powerful moment. The Bodhisattva uses the plant to illustrate how the prince's cruel actions affect others. It's a turning point, making the prince reflect on his own behavior. Does he begin to understand the consequences of his actions? How does he respond to the Bodhisattva's words?
His behavior 100% changed. He realized that he was the bitter one. He was the one that when anybody came and met him, they walked away and went, ooh, that's disgusting. I don't want to know that guy. And we don't want him around our children as they grow up. He's going to have this bitter, poisonous effect on the whole kingdom. And if he is affecting everyone, that's bad news. We should uproot him and we should discard him out of our kingdom. So he said, I can change. I don't have to be behaving this way. I can behave sweetly. And from that moment on, his behavior changed. He was kind instead of cruel. He was generous instead of miserly. He was empathetic and compassionate to the poor and the elderly and the vulnerable. And he was loving instead of being hating. He was humble instead of proud and arrogant.
That's a beautiful transformation. The prince's realization shows how self-awareness can lead to positive change. By choosing kindness and empathy, he not only improves himself, but also enriches the lives of those around him. This story really illustrates the impact one person can have on a community. How do you think his actions influence the kingdom in the long run?
If you have a dictator, if you have a cruel leader, it affects everyone. They tend to be warring not only against neighbors, but warring on their own people, exploiting and crushing and controlling their own people. They tend to destroy the leaders around them and the potential teachers, the people and advisors. They tend to, one by one, take them out because they hate what they say, which is often constructive criticism. So they're closed to that, being very arrogant and being very self-entitled. The effect of that is that there's a complete lack of wise information and good advice in all the different areas of administration. So once they've been removed, then the only person who's making all the decisions about bridge building, dam building, road building, water distribution, food distribution, health, education, you name it, on and on and on, all made by just one person. Well, nobody has that kind of wisdom. The wisdom is in delegating out and having, specialists on all those different areas able to feed their information around. So that's the problem with dictatorships. And a dictatorship would emerge from this kind of situation.
Absolutely. You've hit the nail on the head. A dictator's lack of empathy and reliance on control stifles not only personal growth, but also the potential of the entire society. When wise advisors and diverse perspectives are eliminated, the result is often poor decision-making and a lack of innovation. Communities suffer because decisions are made in a vacuum without considering the needs of the people. It's a stark reminder of how essential empathy and collaboration are for effective leadership and thriving societies. What do you think are the first steps a community can take to rebuild after such a regime?
In this case, it was the re-education and the redirection internally of the protagonist, the prince. So he also was going to be able to have the advice of the Bodhisattva at any given point as well as a mentor. People are like that, like Queen Victoria of England, who was an empress of an enormous empire. She had the mentor Lord Melbourne as a tutor and an advisor, for example. So every tendency to be that every leader has wise teachers who are knowledgeable and who are balanced and somewhat impartial to give them advice. Just as an example, but there's like every leader has had advisors around for better or worse.
The transformation of the prince through mentorship is a powerful example of how guidance and wisdom can reshape a leader. Having someone like the Bodhisattva provides not just knowledge, but also a moral compass. Just like Queen Victoria had Lord Melbourne, effective leaders benefit from wise advisors who can offer perspective and help them navigate challenges. This dynamic not only fosters personal growth, but also enhances the leader's ability to serve their community. How do you think leaders today can find and cultivate such mentorship relationships?
By being open and being humble. Okay, Ralph, I think we'll wind it up for today. I think we'll skip a joke and we'll go straight through to our outro. Take care. And thanks once again, Ralph, for your for your input. I really appreciate that. Thank you very much for your advice and guidance.
You're welcome. I'm glad I could help. Take care, and I look forward to our next session.
So I lose myself in scenes, away from daily dread, in the quiet glow of screens, in stories I am fed. All the tales they weave, comfort and illusion, screens glow makes me believe, away from life's confusion. Christmas time, the year draws near.